I want to share something with you tonight that I almost hesitate to say out loud. Because when I tell you what it is, part of you might want to stop listening. It is not gold. It is not a rare herb. It is not something you need to find in a special shop or order from somewhere far away. It is 7 grains of rice. That is it, 7 grains. Held in the palm before the sun rises, placed quietly near the wallet, without ceremony, without noise. And I know what that sounds like. I can almost feel the part of you that wants to move on, to find something bigger, something more impressive, something that matches the size of the problem you are carrying. But I am asking you, please, stay with me, because what I want to show you tonight is not about rice. It is about something the ancient Jewish teachers understood that the modern world has almost completely forgotten. Something about how provision actually moves, how abundance actually begins, and why the smallest things, when they are treated with the awareness they deserve, carry more power than we have been taught to believe. This teaching is older than you think, and it is sitting right now in your kitchen. Let me speak to you honestly for a moment, person to person. If you are here tonight, something brought you, and I do not think it was a casual click. I think it was that feeling, the one you carry around but do not always name, the one that lives in your chest when you check your balance, the one that wakes you up at 3 in the morning with numbers running through your head that never quite add up the way you need them to. You work, you try. You are not careless, you are not foolish. You are not someone who throws money away without thinking. And still there is never quite enough room to breathe. The month ends and the account is thin again. An unexpected expense arrives, and the small cushion you had built is gone again. You take 2 steps forward, and then life hands you something that pushes you 1.5 steps back, and you smile through it, because what else do you do? But inside you are so tired of the cycle that the tiredness itself has become familiar. And underneath all of it, underneath the budgets and the adjustments and the careful management, there is a question, a quiet, painful question that you might never have said out loud. Is this just my life? Is this simply what provision looks like for me? Is abundance something that happens for other people, in other circumstances, with other kinds of luck? That question is real, and it deserves a real answer. Not a motivational poster, not a quick promise. Something honest, something rooted. And that is what I want to give you tonight. Because here is what I know. You are not lazy. You are not cursed. You are not beyond blessing. But somewhere along the way, perhaps slowly, perhaps without noticing, fear may have become the lens through which you see your financial life. And fear is a lens that distorts everything. It makes small provision look like proof of lack. It makes the seed look like evidence of an empty field. And that distortion, more than the circumstances themselves, is what keeps people stuck. In Jewish wisdom, there is a word for the provision that flows into a person's life. It is called Parnassa. Parnassa is not simply money. It is something bigger and more alive than that. It is the divine flow of sustenance, the livelihood that moves toward a person when they are aligned, when their hands are open, when their inner life is not contracted with fear. The ancient teachers taught that Parnassa is always in motion, always flowing somewhere. The question is never whether it exists. The question is whether we have positioned ourselves to receive it. And one of the oldest and most grounded teachings about Parnassa is this one. Provision does not arrive all at once. It does not come in one dramatic wave that washes everything clean and solves everything in a moment. It comes the way grain comes, the way a harvest comes. It comes as a seed first, small, humble, easy to overlook. And whether that seed becomes a harvest depends not on luck, but on soil, on attention, on the gratitude and awareness of the person holding it. This is where rice enters the teaching. In many Jewish households across generations, grain has been held as a symbol of divine provision. It connects back to the manna in the wilderness, that small, daily, just enough bread that fell each morning for the Israelites when they had nothing else. The teaching in that story is not that God gives reluctantly. The teaching is that provision comes small and daily, and that the right response to small and daily provision is not disappointment. It is gratitude. It is the recognition that the seed is already the miracle, that enoughness is already present, that the grain you hold in your hand is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of it. Rice carries that same meaning. A single grain of rice, placed in good soil, watered, tended, trusted, multiplies into something that can feed a family. The grain is not the harvest, but there is no harvest without the grain. And 7 grains placed near the wallet before sunrise is a declaration. Not to the universe, not as a transaction, not as a formula that forces something to happen, but a declaration to yourself. A daily choosing made in the quiet before the world begins, to be a person who sees seeds rather than scarcity, who honors small provision as the beginning of large provision, who opens their hands before they are asked to. But here is the part most people miss. 7 is not a casual number. In Jewish tradition, 7 is the number of wholeness, of covenant. The world was created in 7 days. Shabbat arrives on the 7th. The menorah carries 7 branches. When you choose 7 grains, and not a handful, not a pinch, not whatever amount feels right in the moment, you are choosing intentionally. You are saying with your action, I am bringing my full awareness to this. This is a covenant I am making with my own heart about how I will see provision from this day forward. I want to tell you about a man named David. David was in his early 40s, an honest man, a hard worker. He had never been what you would call bad with money. He did not gamble. He did not overspend. He did not make dramatic financial mistakes. But he had also never felt stable. There was always a gap between where he was and where he needed to be. A job that paid decently but not enough. A month that looked manageable until it suddenly was not. A quiet, persistent feeling that he was always almost there, but never quite arriving. He was not a spiritual man by nature. He was practical, a bit skeptical, the kind of person who would hear about 7 grains of rice and quietly roll his eyes. But he was also tired in a way that had worn his skepticism thin. One morning, very early before light, he was sitting at his kitchen table because sleep had left him again, and the calculations in his head would not stop. His phone had a voice note from his older brother Yosef. He played it without expecting much. Yosef's voice was calm. He said he had been thinking about David. He wanted to share something their grandmother used to do. Every morning before sunrise, she would go to the kitchen and take 7 grains of rice from the jar on the shelf. She would hold them in her palm. She would look at them, and she would say thank you for the food, for the roof, for what was there, even when it was small. And then she would set them near her purse, near the place where her money lived, and she would say out loud, "From small things, large things grow." She did not do this to conjure money, Yosef said. She did it to remind herself every single morning, before anything else happened, what she believed about provision. That it was present, that it was trustworthy, that the seed was already enough to begin with. I started doing it 3 months ago, Yosef said. I cannot fully explain what has shifted, but I move differently now. I give more. I notice what I have instead of only what I lack. And things have begun to open, not magically, not all at once, but in the way that real things open, quietly, steadily, genuinely. David sat with the phone in his hand for a long time after the voice note ended. Then, without overthinking it, he stood up, walked to the kitchen, and opened the container of rice. He counted 7 grains into his palm. He stood in the dark kitchen in the blue silence before dawn, and he said out loud, feeling slightly foolish and somehow also completely sincere, Thank you. For this. For what is here. For the small beginning of what is coming. He placed the grains next to his wallet on the dresser and went back to his coffee. The next morning he did it again, and the morning after that. He did not experience a dramatic turnaround. What he experienced was something quieter and more lasting than that. He began to see things he had been walking past, a small opportunity he would previously have dismissed, a conversation he had been avoiding that, when he finally had it, opened something unexpected, a resource that had been available to him for months that he had simply never noticed because he had been looking at the world through the lens of not enough. David changed, not his circumstances first, him first, his posture, his seeing, his willingness to acknowledge the seed before demanding to see the harvest. He still does the practice, 7 grains, before sunrise, next to the wallet, with gratitude that is sometimes imperfect, but always sincere. Because, as he said to his brother a year later, the most important thing the practice gave me was not money. It was the daily reminder, before the world got loud again, that I am someone who lives in a world where provision is real. And people who believe that, really believe it, in their hands and their habits, not just in their heads, begin to live like it. And people who live like it begin to find it. Now I want to give you the 3 sacred keys. The first key is the honoring of small things. This is perhaps the hardest key for modern people. We have been trained to measure provision by size, and when what arrives is small, a little extra this month, an unexpected discount, a small kindness that eases a burden, we dismiss it. We say that does not count. I need something bigger than that. And in that dismissal, something closes inside us. The channel narrows. The seed is rejected before it can be planted. The first key is the honoring of small things. This is perhaps the hardest key for modern people. We have been trained to measure provision by size. And when what arrives is small, a little extra this month, an unexpected discount, a small kindness that eases a burden, we dismiss it. We say that does not count. I need something bigger than that. And in that dismissal, something closes inside us. The channel narrows. The seed is rejected before it can be planted. The ancient wisdom says something different. It says the harvest begins in the grain. That gratitude for the small is not settling for less. It is the condition that makes more possible. Honor what you have. See it. Name it. Thank God for it out loud. Not because everything is fine, but because gratitude is the posture of an open hand, and open hands receive. The second key is the power of beginning before the world begins. There is a reason this practice happens before sunrise. In the Psalms, again and again, the poets speak of seeking God at first light, of declaring truth before the day begins. The early morning hours carry a particular stillness. The noise has not started yet. The fear has not yet gathered momentum. Your mind is quiet enough to choose. And what you choose in those quiet moments, what posture you bring into the day before it begins, shapes everything that follows in ways you cannot fully see, but that are absolutely real. When you rise early and hold those 7 grains and speak gratitude over them, you are not being passive. You are making the most active choice of the entire day. You are choosing, before the world asks anything of you, to be a person who sees provision, who honors the small, who begins from enough rather than from lack. The third key is tzedakah, the giving that plants the seed. A grain held in the hand forever is not a harvest. It must be planted. And in Jewish wisdom, giving, tzedakah, is the planting. When you give even a small amount from what you have, you are declaring something radical. You are saying, I am not the end of this flow. I am a channel. What comes to me is meant to move through me, and I trust that what I release comes back, the way a planted seed comes back as 100 seeds. Do not wait until you have enough to give. The giving is what creates the inner experience of enough. Here is the complete practice. Simple, clear, real. For 7 days, rise before the sun. Even 10 minutes early is enough. Go to your kitchen. Take 7 grains of rice from whatever rice you have. Hold them in your palm. Look at them. These are seeds. Each one is a physical declaration of your belief that provision grows. Speak your gratitude out loud, not a formula, your own words. Thank you for the food, for the roof, for whatever provision is present in your life right now, however small. Then say, from small things, large things grow. From this grain, a harvest. My Parnassa is alive. It is in seed form. I honor it. Place the 7 grains on the surface where your wallet rests. Let them sit beside your provision through the day. Each of the 7 days perform one act of tzedakah. Small is fine. A few coins, a kind act with a cost, a gift given freely. Let it be sincere. Let it be the physical proof that your hands are open. On the 7th day, take the grains and release them outside if you can. Return them to the earth. Then begin again with 7 fresh grains and a renewed heart. 3 cycles of 7 days is a powerful beginning. Now say this out loud, wherever you are, right now. I do not despise small beginnings. I honor this grain. I honor what is already present in my life. My Parnassa is not absent. It is in seed form. And I choose, today and every day, to be someone who sees seeds rather than lack. My hands are open. My heart is grateful. My home is ready. From 7 grains, a harvest. I believe it. I receive it. I am ready. Say it again tomorrow morning when you hold the rice. Say it even when the belief feels thin. The saying is the beginning of the believing. That is what the ancient teachers knew. That is what David learned in his dark kitchen before the sun rose. The words come first. The harvest follows. I want to be honest with you before we close, because honesty is part of the covenant between a teacher and a student. The rice will not make money appear. The 7 grains are not a formula. The practice does not guarantee a specific outcome, and anyone who tells you otherwise is not offering you wisdom. They are offering you a shortcut that does not exist. What this practice offers is something quieter and more lasting. It offers you a daily return, a daily choice, a daily posture of eyes that see seeds instead of scarcity, hands that give instead of grip, and a heart that trusts the flow of provision even when it cannot yet see the harvest. The object is not the power. Your intention is the power. Your gratitude is the power. Your giving is the power. And the simple, faithful, unglamorous act of rising before the sun for 7 days and holding 7 small grains and saying thank you, that is the power that changes things, from the inside out, in the only order that real change ever happens. If something in tonight's teaching touched you, if somewhere in this you recognized yourself, then go to the comments right now and write these words. From small things, large things grow. Write it as a declaration. Write it as a seed, because it is. And if you want to keep walking this path, to receive more of these ancient Jewish teachings about Parnassa, about the wisdom carried inside ordinary household objects, about the practices that have sustained the Jewish people through centuries of difficulty and into blessing, then please subscribe to this channel. Every teaching here is given with care, with reverence for the tradition, and with genuine love for the people who arrive here searching for something real. In the next teaching, I want to show you something that has sat in Jewish homes for centuries, something that flickers on windowsills and Shabbat tables, and is carried in the hands of grandmothers at dusk. A candle, a single flame. There is an ancient teaching about what happens to a home when a flame is lit with intention. Not just the physical light, but the spiritual light. What it clears, what it invites, what it declares about the people living inside those walls and their readiness to receive the blessing that the darkness was quietly blocking. That teaching is coming, and I promise you, it will change the way you light every candle for the rest of your life. Until then, Shalom. May the small things in your life be honored today. May the seeds you are holding become everything you have been waiting for. And may your Parnassa, your provision, your flow, your livelihood, grow from this day forward in ways that are steady and faithful and more than enough.